Home buyers are facing a lot of challenges in today's market. So what are they facing in Austin and how will it impact you as a home buyer? Jeremy at the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Now look, today's video is not meant to sell you on buying a home, and it's really not a look at the market currently. If you do want a market video, next week we're doing a full market update on the channel, so make sure you subscribe to see that video if you haven't already. This video really is made to talk to what a home buyer is facing really in the Austin market. Now, our team this year has helped a lot of buyers already, and it's barely like the middle of March. And we have more buyers reaching out to us to buy in this market, but there's some fears and concerns that they're facing in this market. And there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines that are also scared. So we're gonna walk through some of the things that you're facing. I'm gonna bring on Brandy, my lead buyer's agent on the team, and we're actually gonna talk about some of the recent clients that we've helped and some of the things that they've gone through and seen. In fact, the camera guy, if you hit the word Bryce in the comment section, we might get Bryce, the video guy, on here and talk about his search as we're looking right now. So what are the fears that most of you are facing right now? Number one, it's the economy. What's happening in the economy? 2 months ago, everything was amazing. Everybody thought the economy was great. We just got past the election. There's a lot of confidence in the market. And now we're seeing looming recessions potentially. There's a lot of uncertainty, job loss with what's happening with the current administration and things like that. And I know everybody's going to flock to the comment section and get super political. You can go ahead and do that. But the point is that uncertainty causes buyers to pull back. Now, the other big issue that a lot of our buyers have been looking at is the interest rates. They're saying, I don't want to buy because of the interest rates, or I don't want to buy in this current administration, or things like that. What's interesting about the interest rates is they are coming down. As the stock market's crashing, potentially we're going to see interest rates coming down, because I've actually seen a lot of content recently talking about how Trump is actually trying to crash the stock market so it brings down rates so they can refinance the debt. Tell me if you've actually heard that one and if that is potentially what exactly he's doing. So that could push down rates. In fact, a lot of people are saying that it's pushing inflation down, which could cause the Fed to start cutting rates faster. We may see rates actually coming down. I don't know. I'm not the Nostradamus with the ball here, but this is what we've seen. So those two things. Am I going to lose my job is another big one, right? Because of what's happening in the economy with job loss, that's a big one that a lot of buyers are concerned with. And we'll go through some of the things that some of our buyers have actually gone through and some real life stories with Brandy in a moment. And the other one that most buyers are facing is right now a good time to buy with the economy the way it is. What's interesting is most home buyers really should look at buying a home as a long-term play. And look, reality is most buyers look at home buying completely differently today than they did a few years ago. 25% of people are still working from home. Now that could change. If you're a work from home person, tell me if you're seeing a change in the work from home. But 25% of people, up from 5% just before the pandemic, are work from home. So living and having a good home quality and life at home is massively important to most people. More people are putting home gyms in their home. More people are putting studios, like myself. I'm actually buying a car condo to actually put a studio in. And by the way, if you're an influencer and you're looking in Austin area and you're looking to maybe rent a space, talk to my guy Bryce, because we are going to actually rent the space out to you. Okay, if you're going to buy, I just recommend anybody that is buying, buy keeping in mind you're going to hold it for 5 or 6 years. It's strange that since the pandemic, a lot of people look at buying a home like they buy in the stock market. I want to buy it today, and by the end of the year, I want it to be up 20, 30, 40%. That's a very rare occurrence. So I would make sure that if you are buying, that's not what you're buying and the intention is. So let's grab Brandy and let's talk about some of the stories some of our clients have gone through recently. Okay, so there's a lot of things happening in the market you just heard me talk about. I have Brandy, who is the lead buyer's agent on my team, and she's helping a lot of our sellers as well. So she's seeing a lot of things in the concerns that our buyers are facing. One thing that's pretty interesting that I want to talk about first, though, is the inventory. Technically, we could say that we are in a buyer's market. So if you're a seller, we kind of worked 6 months inventory. So we're in a buyer's market. So what are they seeing inventory wise?
So there's a lot to choose from. So not only is there a lot going on in new construction all over the city, we're having a lot of inventory within the neighborhoods. So if you're looking for homes and you want to explore both new construction and resale, we definitely have a lot of options for you. Now we can definitely help you narrow it down because that's what we do. But you are going to have a lot more choices than you've had before in a long time.
So that's what's interesting, is because like what we've seen with some of our sellers that have wanted to maybe overprice a home, and they're pricing a home next to a new build community when a buyer has the opportunity to look at new construction and resale, right? They're overpricing. So what are some of the things you've seen with some of the sellers on the listing side that your buyers are facing with some of the sellers?
So this is a big deal because this is happening over and over. And what I'm seeing happening is buyers have an option right now to go resale and pay interest rates where they are right now, or they're going new construction. Now, new construction has the deals. They have the interest rate buy downs, the 2-1 buy downs. They have the 30,000 in design center. So we have to get our sellers to understand that with new construction being a huge competition, especially if they live nearby new construction communities, is that buyers have so much to choose from that we have to be aggressive in our pricing. And maybe sometimes we have to offer some of those rate buy downs that the builders are offering.
From a seller standpoint, tell us like maybe a story recently you've had where you represented a buyer and the seller just maybe overpriced and was a little unrealistic. I mean, we were just talking about somebody that gave you that said, give us an offer. What was that like?
So yes, the listing agent very much. I think it was red flash must sell. Emoji fire. And so, well, we went in guns blazing because that's what that meant to us. But they only came back 9,000. And I'll tell you, this particular buyer, we are deciding right now in between a resale and new construction, and that new construction is offering a 2-1 buy down. 3.99 the first year, 4.99 locked in at 5.99. Now, if they go new construction, that's what they're going to get. If they go with resale, they're going to be at 6.5.
Yeah, and that I think that's really important that a lot of buyers when they're looking at the market, right? They're looking at, okay, interest rates are too high. Maybe not in the Austin market, right? They're looking somewhere else and there's not as much new construction inventory. We've seen with pricing, the best deals are further away from town. As we get closer to Austin, though, prices are quite a bit higher than the periphery, and there's a lot of inventory, but not as much inventory. Tell me maybe something that you've had a client that bought closer into Austin, maybe an experience there.
Well, when you get closer in, we're definitely going to be going up in pricing. But I think that's the expectation too, when you get closer in versus being out in the suburbs. And there is not the new construction, there's not as much new construction, or it's just going to be different.
What about on a resale? I mean, are we seeing buyers ask for closing costs to buy down the rate? What have you seen there?
So both buyers are being aggressive in coming off that asking price because they have so much to choose from. But in addition to that, they're also asking for seller concessions for the rate buy down. So I'm not only coming off the asking price, I'm also in seller concessions asking for sometimes upwards of $12,000 to get that rate down to about 6.125.
Okay. And stay tuned though, because I did say at the beginning that we are going to give you some tips. I've got a really good tip for you at the end on rate buy downs and things like that. So stay tuned for the end of the video on that. A couple of years ago, we saw a lot of multiple offers and we're hitting the spring market right now. Are we seeing a lot of multiple offers as far as from a buyer standpoint, or are we seeing a little more flexibility in price? Because not too long ago, in fact, the beginning of the year, I noticed that home prices were selling about 92% of list price. So if you imagine list price at 100%, most homes are selling 92%. So really the question is, are we seeing multiple offers in these deals for buyers?
Okay, so I'm glad that you asked that, Jeremy, because I would say no, I'm not seeing multiple offers. Do you know the last multiple offer I saw?
Let me guess, it was on one of our
It was
listings.
on one of our listings, because when you price right and market correctly, you get multiple offers. But I personally, on the buy side, I have not been in a multiple offer situation with a buyer in quite some time.
Yeah, and that's what's really important. So when we've met, because we've recently met with some sellers that didn't necessarily agree with pricing, right? And we had sellers that said, "Yeah, let's price where it needs to price." We had multiple offers. We had pricing where we overpriced and we're seeing what most buyers. So look, if you're a buyer and a house is priced right, the reality is you do need to, if you're in the buyer's market, right, you do need to move quickly and write, a decent offer, because a home that just lists on the market, that's in the right condition, that looks good. And this is something we're talking with sellers about. and is in the right location and priced right, they're selling quickly. I mean, I'm like Circle C for an example. I'm seeing houses in Circle C priced right sell in the same weekend, in 4 days, right? But those buyers maybe aren't getting the same deal as if they're looking where there's more inventory. So give us an idea of a really amazing deal that you actually wrote for a client recently.
Actually, I had some buyers out over this past weekend, and we had lined up maybe 4 or 5 homes. Well, they ended up loving the first house that we went to. And it was great because it really checked all the boxes because they told me exactly what they wanted, and that's what I found. And so that was great. We went in and we actually got aggressive. There was a beautiful generator. And Snowmageddon, everyone has generators now. It was a $17,000 generator. And my client was like, I want it. And then the wife was like, and I want this art piece on the wall. I was like, I got you. And so we wrote the offer and we still went 10,000 under, got the art piece, got the generator. First house they saw, they were super happy and it just worked out great.
Yeah, and I think this is what's really important is that what most buyers don't understand is they get a little nervous about the market, right? They get nervous about everything. In reality is why are most buyers buying, right? They're buying because they're having a family, or they're buying because of a job relocation, or they're buying to be closer to family or be closer to friends. They're moving to the suburbs. So there's still reasons why buyers are buying, right? And so if you're not in the market to buy, then don't buy. This is not the video for you. If you are in the market, I think it's really important to understand that there are ways to bring down the interest rate. There are ways to get the price down. Now, is it going to be every home? I don't know. Are you seeing some sellers just being so reluctant on their price, they're not even budging?
Absolutely. I think we both are. And we actually did have to turn something down because it wasn't going to fit. It wasn't going to work for us. But sometimes I think, especially having gone through COVID and what happened in our market, I think a lot of our sellers are really stuck on that number that could have been. And it could have been 2, 3 years ago, but not now. And so we're having to come back down to, okay, where realistically are we in the market now? That's where we need to price.
Awesome. So let's go over some tips for buyers. I would say I'm going to go with my first number one tip is to make sure you get pre-approved early before you start shopping. And the biggest thing I see with most buyers personally is that they get excited about buying a house. We're ready to go buy a house. And then they run out and they're not necessarily prepared, or they're nervous about buying. And so they're so nervous and so fearful they want to maybe skip the pre-approval process. What's your tips on the pre-approval process?
That would have been my number one as well. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you don't know the rate that you're going to get and the tax rate, and you don't know what that monthly payment is going to look like, then you're driving around just shooting in the dark. So in order to get a really good idea of, I know that I'm comfortable at this number and I know the tax rate and I know my interest rate, that's so important. But almost as important, secondly, I would say is to drive around. A lot of times people will come to me. I had a really cute couple come to me and they had like 22 homes and they were like, Brandy, we love these. We want to see these. And I was like, guys, I was like, they're all going to be sold by the time we get through all of these. I said, I tell you what, you guys, I need you guys to take a drive. Take a drive around together, grab some coffee, and drive these neighborhoods. And they looked at me like I had just shot their dog. They were so offended, like, because my job was to do that. And I said, trust me, will you trust me? And they said, yes. So we got together the next day and they had driven all over the place. And they were like, we would like to see these 5 homes, please. And so they narrowed down what they liked because the buyer, you've got to get in the neighborhood. You've got to drive around. You've got to see if it's on a busy street, if it backs to a railroad, where HEB is, where your kid's school is. So I would say is to start to get familiar with the areas that you like.
I think what's really important to know, though, is a couple of reasons why you want to make sure you're pre-approved is so when you go do shopping like that, you know where to look. One, two, it's really important because like if you need to get your financing in order, or maybe you need to change some things in your credit, or maybe you need to go and visit something on your taxes, that's your opportunity for the lender to navigate you through that part. We just had a client reach out to us that's moving from Houston, right? And they were really nervous about everything. And my first thing was, hey, you got to talk to a lender first. That way we know how to help you, because really if a realtor throws you in a car and starts showing you homes without being pre-approved, you're both are shooting in the dark, and you're wasting your client's time and you're wasting your time, because the last thing you want to do is drive around with the 22 homes, narrow down the 5, and then go to write an offer not pre-approved, and then you can't even get the house you fell in love with. So if you reach out to us, or when you reach out to us, the first thing we're going to ask you to do is, if you don't have a lender already, we'll give you some recommendations. So that's number one. Two would be to go drive around and know the areas. Now, there's a lot, like this channel is meant, we're showing you lots of Georgetown neighborhoods. We're showing you lots of different areas because we want you to be fully aware of where you want to be. So that would be number two. Start to narrow down where exactly you want to be. That way you fit your pricing in that area.
Be on the same page, because if not, then you get into the house and then well, I never wanted a 2-story. I don't want to do the stairs. What, you never said that before. And so if you're not on the same page, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it is, just kind of have an idea of what you want. What are the necessities, the needs? What are the deal breakers?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's part of creating the plan, right? What exactly you need. And that's what we do usually with buyers. We sit down and we do a full consultation, right? Mm-hmm. We sit down, what are you looking for? What does it mean to you? Why do you need to be in these areas? Because I think it's, the biggest question that you always ask people is why, right?
Why?
Yeah. Why? Because the reality is, if you're going to move to somewhere that you don't want to be and you don't know why, they're not going to love it. So set a plan. And that's usually when you're looking to hire an agent. I think that's really kind of in that setting a plan. Hire the right agent, set the plan. That way you can go shopping. The next is be ready to negotiate. Talk to some people about some of the negotiating that you've done, and maybe a negotiating tactic that might help in this scenario.
Sure. So, okay, there's two ways of thinking. So I've been in the house I was telling you about over the weekend, where the husband and wife on the same page fell in love, and they looked at me and said, Brandy, get me the house. And it wasn't, and they were looking at me like, I don't care what you offer. I don't care. Just make it happen. And so that was, if you love a house and you don't want to lose it, then you need to go in and be aggressive, and you need to give them a good offer, a good, fair offer. Now, I have another one that's later today that I'm making an offer on, that she's like, I love it, but I wouldn't be upset if I lost it.
Yeah.
So that's a different way to negotiate altogether. So that way we can go in and say, okay, well, then if they won't do this, then you're willing to walk away. So you just have to know, am I in it to win it, or would I lose sleep over losing this house?
So yes. So my number 5 was be ready to walk away. Yeah. You got my number 5 in there at the end. Be ready to walk away, because for setting a plan for negotiating, really what we want to do is, do you need closing costs? We're going to get that from the lender, right? How much, what's our offer price going to be, and what pieces in that? Because it's not just the price and the interest rate, but it's also the little things in the offer that you write, right? The terms. And so as a seller too, you might get an offer for full price, but there might be a lot of crappy terms in there. I mean, I literally just negotiated a $5 million deal. Mm-hmm. And the other side gave us everything on there. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this team negotiating against us gave us every little thing. So, and I mean, you've seen that as well. So 5 things. Make sure you go through and get pre-approval. Start a plan, have a really, really good plan, and make sure that you have a good realtor. Make sure you know the areas that you're going to be looking in. Be able to negotiate, know how you're going to negotiate. And number 5, I would say, be able to walk away from a bad deal.
I agree. Everything that you said, and be able to walk away, but don't lose it if you love it. And that's what I say is, don't let a couple $1,000s in ego get in the way of a home that you love. So, and I had a counter recently, and it was like $175 worth of HOA fees. Yeah. And the buyer was like, what? And so it's like, just say yes. I mean, it's, there's no use of splitting hairs. Let's get you the home that you love.
Yeah. Sometimes negotiating the small things doesn't matter. But they do say, watch the pennies and the dollars will care for themselves, or something like that.
I mean, that sounds good.
Okay.
But in this case, it was $175, but still, I was like, it's not even worth writing down, but sure, we'll give you the $175.
Yeah. All right. So if you want more information, reach out to us in the Night Group. If you like this video, make sure you share it. By the way, we are always willing to hear from you. So look, if it's 5 months out, 6 months out, a year out, reach out to us, and we'd love to set a plan for you. Jeremy Knight, the Night Group, your favorite awesome realtor with Brandy.